All right, we're back. Another episode.
I was wondering what you were going to pick today.
Well, this is not to be a bummer out of the gate, but you know, my life is filled with a bunch of those East Side, are you serious kind of stories?
I'm into a bummer today.
I kind of...
It works.
You know what's funny? It's like, I woke up this morning early, you know, because I'm old, so I can't sleep in anymore. And I'm like, I was thinking about today, I'm like, okay, what direction I want to go, what kind of vibe, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And yesterday was October 23rd. It's based on the time of our recording today. And October 23rd was my youngest brother's birthday. So, in typical Anderson style, me being an Anderson, we were awful with birthdays. Like, we would forget them. We didn't celebrate them. And, you know, so a day late.
Barely noticed.
I'm like, you know what? Oh, yeah, yesterday. Because I go on Facebook and everybody's like, oh, I miss Ryan. Because, you know, people listening, my brother passed away a couple years ago. So they're all reminding me that yesterday. So I was going through the archives.
I almost did. I think I saw that it was his birthday too.
Did you?
Yeah.
I had plenty of people remind me, I'm thinking about your brother today. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's just so typical. Anyway, I was going through the archives, and I'm like, okay, you know what, today, because my brother, of the three of us, all three of us played guitar. I played it fireside style, meaning 3 chords, and I was awful.
Yeah.
Dana obviously could write and do all this stuff, but the most naturally talented of the three was Ryan. But he was a dipshit, so he never got it. And this is one of the only recordings of him ever in our studio. So he's the one, I think he's on bass and guitar and whatever, a couple buddies. And it was a Friday night at Gaslight. And so it was like 2.5 hours of debauchery.
Wow, he's good.
Yeah, singers, another Granite City boy, Steve Chosich, but strings were my brother. So happy birthday, Ryan. B-side.
Happy birthday.
That's a B-side. That's a, you know... That's not the hit track. It's a B-side story.
That's the idea.
That's the whole point of this show, man. So how things for you, man?
Oh, good. You know, just getting ready for a little Halloween love.
Are you a Halloween guy?
You know, I'm not a Halloween guy, but St. Louis is a what we could term as a Halloween guy. It's like I don't think I really realized that it's kind of a thing here. For sure, until pretty recently. Until you show somebody not from St. Louis and just Halloween is everywhere. The little trick-or-treat joke thing, you got to get people apprised of. Yeah. And parties and events and stuff just everywhere all the time.
Yeah, I throughout my life, I've had a multitude of reasons as to why I don't like Halloween.
Really?
Yeah.
You would so not like Halloween.
No, I know. Well, you know, again, I'll go back to the brother thing, right? Well, since we're on a downer Friday theme.
Oh, God.
Because we were so close in age and we didn't really have a lot of money, my mom always made us wear the exact same fucking costume every year. So we're all pirates, right?
Yeah.
Just like cut up scarves for eye patches.
Everybody wanted their own costume.
Yeah, and then we were like all baseball players and, you know, whatever. And I'm just, this is so stupid. You know, and then later in life, my wife, like, that was her favorite holiday. And I'm like, this is the whole yin yang thing, right?
Yeah.
Karma.
You were first in that?
Oldest, then 13 months, and then 22 months after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the two of them were still alive, his birthday yesterday was like we always celebrated amongst ourselves because that's when we were all 1 year apart. He would have been 47, 48, 49 until the November 8th, which is my birthday, and then I jump up. So we were 1 year apart like for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we were each 2 years apart in school. I graduated 93, 95, 97.
Yeah.
Anyway, point being, Halloween, let's stay on track here.
Squirrel.
Halloween is just, I never got it.
No fun memories.
And we live in one of those neighborhoods that's like one way in, one way out. So it's loaded with kids. And Kim, like, you're at the bottom of the driveway.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't like the children trick-or-treating and Do you hate puppies and
you know what I hate about
and rainbows?
I don't mind.
Too?
I kind of want to like whatever. Here, toss out the candy, cute. But I feel like I don't mind crowds. I don't mind speaking in front of people. Like I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I get anxiety looking at a 7-year-old saying, "What's your joke?" Because I know it's gonna be a shit joke, and like I can't fake it all night long. So
It is. You are a little bit hostage, but you got to do your thing. You got to always buy what kids are selling. So.
I love November 1st.
Yeah. This is interesting. This is how I am about Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. I am a total Grinch.
Is it family, gifts?
Yeah,
all the above.
All of it. I mean, I would love to just hang out. Do a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do a little mass. Do a little dinner. See the family, but it's always been a very stressful time.
I
think it should be every other year.
10 years plus now. Well, we've done Santa.
Yeah.
Has since 2014, 15, when my parents were gone.
Yeah.
No gifts.
Yeah.
Plane tickets.
Yeah. See, that's the move.
Christmas morning, literally 5, 6 a.m.
That's the move.
Out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we're here with another one with three brothers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a vibe.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Yeah.
That worn.
Yeah. You guys are total animals.
Go ahead. Let's drop a name. Name,
complete
rank,
and total animals. So we are here with Martin Goebel. Martin, thank you for hosting us too. We're here at Goebel and Company Furniture
on a lovely office desk.
On the most lovely office desk, arguably in the world. So don't they? Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Blatant, bold-faced lies. And, it's actually a repurposed transaction desk from our former space in Maplewood. It's been cut down a few times, and God knows what's been dropped on it and things like that. And we're here in beautiful North City, which is actually the name of the area is called Below Broadway. I don't know if you've known that.
I did not know exactly where we were.
So they would generally, if you were, into the muscle cars in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, they would drag race on Hall Street right down here.
Yeah.
But Below Broadway is now.
Did you know Below Broadway?
I did.
You did.
Yeah, but again, I'm going to go back to my roots. Like we seeked out cheaper forms of fun.
Yeah.
So crossing, Chain Rocks Bridge back in the kid and coming down Riverview Drive and then slotting it into this back neighborhood here.
Yeah.
My dad thought it was always cool to like show us the urban side of St. Louis on our way over for a split BLT from Crown Candy.
Well, I don't know that this is definitely one of those places that certainly from the people that come in from around the world are like really, wow, he lives here.
you brothers? Is that the deal? How many?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3 brothers.
Oh, you're the baby.
I'm the baby.
How close are we?
Oldest is 5 years older, and the middle one is 18 months older.
Okay.
So we were all pretty close, especially the one that was 18 months older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. Was my story kind of like, you're like, oh, I know that story. I've been there.
Oh, I've prayed for the death of my brothers. But no, I'm sorry to say that, but I did enjoy the fact that you guys are looking for a downer day and you chose me.
Yeah,
that's really uplifting thought.
Need a little help.
Little confidence there.
Well, I love wood, so coming into a warehouse factory like yours, it's like that's cool because it is. It's one of those things. It's everybody loves going to the store or to the bar or the restaurant and being like, oh, look at this table or chair or whatever, and I'd love that in my house, and then they go to IKEA.
Sure.
And they wonder why they can't find it.
Yeah, exactly.
So your place is one of your whole business is kind of the anti blue box.
It is, but the ironic part about that is we always set out with this company in particular to then bring that type of a product to the masses, because the idea that luxury products are only for the ultra wealthy is somewhat counterintuitive. I didn't grow up ultra wealthy, so the idea that now I would be catering specifically to that, it's always going to be my interpretation of it, because it's very hard to design product for individuals or experiences that you're not intimately involved with. So, I mean, it was something that in terms of product design, really came up when it came to, the 1950s and men designing only women's products. So in the case of, brassieres, the idea that men would design bras is ludicrous. We don't know what the hell the problems are. I mean, we have our own problems.
I would take the other side of that argument. I'd be like, whoa, who benefits? Who stands to benefit the most from the design? Not from a comfort level.
Well, I think that in the grand scheme of duration in which we would benefit, I think the longer duration would be the person wearing it, not the person trying to unwear it.
So in full disclosure, this is an explicit podcast, so let's get that out of the way. And I want to ask you something though, because I read a book a while back, and it was one of these.
Was it my book?
No. It was like this corporate branding idea, growth. What's unique about a company that makes them truly stand out. And one of the, for example, Southwest Airlines, when they interview a pilot, they bring in a round table, and there's a mixture of pilots and HR and everything, but they all dress the same. And they put 3 candidates at the table at the same time, and then they whip the questions around. And so whenever I ask you, prospective pilot, a question, the other people are watching the faces of the other candidates, and they're looking for empathy, because that's the kind of pilot they want, right? I thought it was really unique. But chapter 2 was IKEA, and you touched on it a little bit, where the concept of furniture historically has been these big things that are in a home, a dining table, a headboard, a bed, whatever. And the expectation was like, it's just going to be passed through family. And, and they were going to be part and parcel to a move into the next generation of said family, right? And then along comes IKEA, and they're like, we're going to make this a little different. In fact, not only are we going to make it something you throw away, we're going to allow you to put it together. But your experience in our stores, you're going to love it. And you're going to buy meatballs, right? So those are the 2 bookends. And when you hear that kind of brief anecdotal story, how do you view it? How do you view furniture from a consumer perspective, or maybe that historic family lineage? We're going to pass this thing down. Do you view furniture through that lens?
I do and I don't. I think that there is an opportunity and a place for really shitty furniture, which I think everybody's experienced, whether you're rich or poor. You've had the chair that's rocked. You've had the table that's kind of broken from a move and things like that. And nobody likes that. Nobody wants to deal with that on a daily basis. It's a terrible experience. But often various products that we deal with are finite experiences. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to keep it forever. And I think we've gone a little bit too far these days with the whole consumeristic, like, buy it for 3 years, throw it away, buy another one. Like, that's excessive. But
like fast fashion, there's fast furniture. Yeah.
But IKEA actually didn't start in the way that the current iteration is occurring. Right. They started because in Scandinavian countries, especially Sweden, it was dark for a lot of the years. So the factories would then, during the warmer months, produce all of the furniture components in the factories. They would have all the people that would then work in their factories. But then during the winter months, they would take all those components out to the various homes and personal shops of all of the individuals. And during the cold months, they'd sit in their homes and they would assemble furniture. And then once it got warm enough, they'd send out carts and whatnot, and they'd pick up all of the assembled furniture that now people for 3, 4, 5 months in those Nordic climates assembled. And I'm assuming that at one point they figured out, well, why don't we just have other people assemble it, or the homeowners assemble it?
Yeah.
But at one point, IKEA wasn't a poor quality thing. It was that Nordic design. It was the modern design before modern was a thing, in the 1950s, 1960s era. And really what we see with furniture these days, or products in general, is all post-World War II manufacturing, war material theory, in the sense that you would only need to use any of it long enough to get you onto the battlefield, and most likely you wouldn't come back anyway. So, like, for instance, Ray and Charles Eames, bent plywood, all that stuff.
Yep.
They were here at Wash U. They were in U City. Charles Eames was an architect here in St. Louis. But he only got into all that bent plywood crap because they were doing battlefield splints. And then after the war, they figured out that they can use it for a lot of things with regard to consumer products. So in terms of, even the mid-century furniture that everybody's going ape shit over these days, it's terrible quality. Bent plywood is not a luxury product. It's something that, was used to make furniture and products cheaper, faster. Think of all the post-war houses that are here in St. Louis that are like 1-2 bedroom. They put up half of South City, definitely South County, right after World War II for that, greatest generation baby boom that was going to be there. But no one ever thought that those houses would last as long as they have.
Where would you say that maybe you and or we as a broader consumer are right now? Because what you're talking about from a design standpoint, you talk about mid-century, everything was to a degree very linear or very slow curves, not a lot of, frill, right?
Sure.
Go back, a number of generations, everything was ornate. There wasn't, the feet on a hutch would have decorative flowering carved into it, et cetera. So, those being the two extremes that we've seen, be cyclical. Where are we in 2025, in your opinion?
Well, so a lot of what we see from history, even as far back as, say, 1930s, does it have more ornamentation? Does it have gold leaf? Does it have high lacquer finishes? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not what the vast majority of people use. That was the ultra wealthy. And the only reason it survived this long is because the ultra wealthy didn't beat the shit out of it. They had 9 houses. They had luxury production. They had all of that. So, if you go to like a chateau in France and you go into the servants' quarters, or you go into the kitchen and you see what they prepped meals on, the furniture from there hasn't changed dramatically from what peasants in the Roman era were using, or people in the 1940s in Iowa were using. And a little bit of stylistic change, but in terms of where we are right now, I think there's a really big pushback on trash. People have just had it with regard to, thank God that we got over that like farm to table crap that we saw in every fucking restaurant in St. Louis for 10 years. And then they decided to use pallets. And let's be clear, enjoy your listeria. Enjoy your watery diarrhea with your giardia from the pallet that you made the furniture out of. It's been sitting on a loading dock with rotting lettuce on it. Now we're going to put our baby in a crib made of fucking pallets? It's lunacy. But I think a lot of that came on because there was recession and people thought, oh, let's, use whatever we have. But the labor you put into making those crap materials viable would have been better spent on the raw materials. So you had to do less to it. So the outcome would have been essentially the same price. Right. It's just a matter of, are you putting into the materials or labor? But right now, I think people are having enough of that, go to Carroll House Furniture and buy 17 pieces for $39.99. And, that's an idea of the 80s and the 90s where I think people now are more conscious of what they're buying, and they do want to have it for a long period of time. We're sick of having our crappy college furniture, and the idea of buy it once, have it forever, or buy it once and have it as long as you want it, I think is more on the forefront now than it ever has been. But in St. Louis especially, there's not a big craftsman community or culture. A lot of people would push back on that. But if you go to New England, you go to the Pacific Northwest, you go to England, you go to Australia, these are places that, craft has had a very, very strong presence. Japan, right?
Right.
People care about it. Here in Missouri, nobody gives a shit. We're in the Galapagos fucking islands with regard to any sort of trade. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I like that because if I look at furniture for people that are working out of New York or Paris or London, these hubs of furniture, It all looks the same because all those jackasses drink and eat together and knock each other off. I like evolving differently.
Well, I mean, let's lean into that a second because Anthony, I mean, one of the things that, and I'm sure your ears probably perked up at the same time too. What you're describing is you're not alone here. There are other individuals that are making furniture. You might be alone in a particular niche, lane, etc. My question to you is it easy here, or maybe what are the pros and cons? Because if you're saying the market and the community in New England, in the Pacific Northwest, or any in these global hotspots for what you do are so much better, why does it make sense, and why is it working for you here?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, and I think St. Louis has this plague of elevating mediocrity. You take people that are not professionals, not trained, not really that good, but they've put a little bit of effort into doing anything, whether that be making art, making pizza, making beer, making furniture. And the race to the middle or to the bottom is massive. And for some reason, St. Louis loves this sort of underdog story of, well, I went to Mizzou and I got a journalism degree and I hated being in marketing. I'm going to be a woodworker. Like, that's great. You were probably a professional at those other things, but now you're a jerk-off professional at this. You have no business being a professional, but because now you sell it at the Tower Grove Farmers Market, people will flock to you. And, those people aren't my competition because we sell a fundamentally different product. It might be for the same use, but, you're a glorified hobbyist. I don't want to talk to you about tools. You don't want to talk to me about tools. My luxury clients, maybe 5-10% of them are local. The rest are around the world. And it doesn't matter where I set up, but I think St. Louis is a really unique place for me. I was trained in California. I was trained in Rhode Island. I was trained in Maine. And St. Louis is the largest metropolitan area with the lowest cost of living, most strategically positioned, not only logistically, but then also with the ecology and the forests around us. And I'm able to do things here with a footprint, with a lifestyle, with the ability to ship anywhere in the world that I couldn't do in any other city. Other cities, like think of Little Rock or Tulsa, they don't have the manufacturing industry and footprint that St. Louis does. So, there aren't a lot of really, really high-end woodworkers. There's some that might have a name behind them, but their work sucks. It's horrible. But it's not because they're not good woodworkers. It's because they just don't feel like trying that hard. And St. Louis will accept it, and they generally sell to St. Louis. But it's because St. Louis doesn't know or care. All they see is a name and an address. But in the case of me, I hope nobody ever sees my name or address. I hope they see the furniture and they choose to buy it because it's amazing, or they tell me to fuck off. And I'm good with either. But, I was talking to a very dear friend, Carlos Zamora, the other day, fabulous graphic designer, world-class Cuban guy. He's here in St. Louis. And I was talking to him and one of his new friends, and she was asking us about his career, my career, and I said, I would prefer that if we could wipe the internet today of all of my past work, all of my education, all of my whatever, and I could start knowing that. I think my best work is ahead of me, and I think I could get notoriety for that. But right now, I think a lot of the work that I've done, people look at and they say, well, what has he done in the past? And, do I want to do that? No, I want to be known for the next piece, not the last piece. And I think that so many people hang on to what they did in the past, but, the accumulation of knowledge at this point is something that is, maybe I'm just an asshole, or it's bravado, or it's just saying, no, fuck all of that.
I noticed that the other day. I think I mentioned something. Was it the bed? There's something you were working on, and I was, following your channel as many people do, and I said to myself, holy shit, he's getting better. As if that's possible. Well, I really was. I was like, oh my God, we haven't even, because you do, people, when you think of an artist, as many people around the world would call you, and then it's actually improving. And I'm like, I haven't even seen what's left from Goebel and Company and from you, and it's pretty wild to think about. So it's a hell of a way to phrase it.
Yeah. So I think based on your last commentary, it's safe to say that you have strong opinions.
Mild.
Let me just ask it simplistically then. Do you like working here?
I hate it some of the day. I love it some of the day. It depends on what's happening that day. I don't know if it's a geographic location. I think it affords me a lot of things that I couldn't ever afford anywhere else. It affords me a lot of autonomy. It affords me to have.
Do you mean logistically or nominally or
all the above?
All of the above.
And I think that in terms of being a creative, whether I am or not, nobody's creative. If you go to the most creative person that and they got blue fucking hair and they've got weird lifestyle, you said, hey, just be normal. That's the equivalent and the difficulty of someone saying to a normal person, be creative. It's just our interpretation of the world. And in the case of what I do, I create physical product that reflects that.
Why furniture? What was the draw?
I grew up working with my hands, just digging in the yard, building decks with my dad. My grandfather on the father's side was a German farmer that immigrated to St. Louis as a refugee. The other grandfather was a Austrian pastry chef from Vienna that then came to work at the Chase Park Plaza in the 1960s, was supposed to be here 18 months, stayed for 50 years. And I don't know. I don't know why it was furniture and not cooking or not ceramics or something else, but it's a process-oriented thing. So I think that anybody that is in my world that is really succeeding isn't just working in furniture. They're working across genres. Like, I can't sit down and stare at a TV at night. I go in, I cook, I garden, I bake, I clean. It's something so that the mind is occupied.
Mm-hmm.
But these days, I joke about I'm as proficient with a chainsaw as I am with digital design and computers. But with a chainsaw, I don't have to put it down and go work on a computer for a while to settle my nerves. If I work on a computer for 45 minutes, I got to go walk around the shop a couple of times. Otherwise, I just go batshit. It's probably some sort of a stimulation thing. So when the machines are out there and they're loud and they're vibrating, it's probably some sort of a sensory thing, to be honest with you.
As a fellow self-proclaimed ADD creative that can't sit anywhere for longer than 30, 45 minutes. Let me ask you a question. When you think of a project, and you, if you had to describe the juice, the good part, right?
Yeah.
And in your world, right, we just took a stroll through the warehouse, and I love it because I dabbled. I had some tools, but I definitely dabbled.
Did you have a wood face?
Yeah,
like
for a long time.
Horse's face?
Long time, man.
Spice racks and birdhouses and shit like that.
No, it's a butcher blocks. Everything's a butcher block.
Butcher block. Yeah.
What excites you the most in the process? Is it that when that raw, quarter sawn piece, block gets dropped on your floor and you stare at that thing and are you thinking, oh my God, baby, there you are? Or when you're done and that last coat of varnish is finished and the client sits in
is it the varnish porn that we watch online?
Where are you in that lifespan? Because we all...
soothing to watch those. Soothing to watch those videos.
There's parts of the creative process that is like for the person that had the vision.
Yeah.
Where are you in that process? What do you love?
Well, so there's a number of, transformative states in any one of the projects where a lot of times it's like, you're making components for 3 weeks and it does, making big pieces with smaller
production.
The joke about the oiling or the varnishing is when you post a picture of that, if you post a video of oiling a big tabletop and you leave like one little bit unoiled,
it makes people
stop
insane.
the video.
Yeah.
The evil DMs you get on Instagram is like,
I could see that. Having watched many of them myself, I do find them to be very therapeutic.
So during pandemic, did you guys watch that show, The Queen's Gambit, with
of course.
Pretty Blonde Girl, whatever?
Yeah.
They ended up at one point talking about how she prepares herself, and they did this graphic where she looks up at the sky,
staring in the ceiling,
and she's playing chess on the ceiling, right? Envisions the entire thing. These days, because I do have a production shop and I've got guys that work for me, I'm the conductor of the orchestra. I'm not the actual first chair violin. I can't help myself but to go out there and bang away, get dusty every so often. But in terms of then communicating and planning and things like that, I've never seen a better illustration of how I design furniture than watching that Queen's Gambit thing where she's sitting there playing the entire game of chess with herself in her imagination. And so, like, I always have to laugh because I've been through a lot of schools of fine arts and a lot of art classes and a lot of drawing classes. It's all such fucking horse shit. And they're like, well, how do you know if you haven't written it down? You motherfucker, I can do this from memory. I don't need to write it down. I don't need to put it in a computer. I've thought about this 1,000 times over. Pissed drunk at 2 a.m. when I'm drinking water and simultaneously, eating, I'm designing that piece. I don't need to write it down on a fucking napkin. It's like if you have kids and someone says, well, tell me about your kids. You don't need to go check your notes. You just know. And that's the same thing. So, the writing it down is kind of like writing down a recipe for cookies so you can redo it sometime or communicate it to somebody else. But in terms of someone who really understands that, I don't need any of that. Like, I don't need measurements. I don't need to take measurements.
So where's the joy come from? Because it is a process. These are
the joy.
Like what? Because there's a finish line. For me,
you think I find joy in this?
Yeah.
I like to say you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, has way more to do with some kind of disorder or masochism or addiction.
I'll give you a perfect parallel, and I know you'll understand this. Like I love to cook. I love to cook, and the thing for me is what I've realized later in life. What do I love about cooking? I love bringing in the protein, the veggies, the color, everything else, pulling out the spices. But my favorite fucking part is putting that protein or the veggies on the cutting board and have a sharp knife and just cut.
Huh.
I don't like the finished product.
Like of all the processes in the kitchen,
like the process.
Cutting on the board.
That's some Dexter stuff right there, man.
Yeah.
I like that process. I like what is going on at that point, and the end product. Like I'm infamous in my own house that I will spend hours in the kitchen, slightly grazing, and then I don't eat.
Yeah.
I don't eat the meal. Right. So that's where I'm there because I know within your brain part of this process, whether it is a table or a chair, there's some part of that process that is the perfect frequency.
That's actually a great question.
One of the things, two things. I stopped by my parents' house this morning and had a cup of coffee, and my mom said to me the other day, this morning, do you ever have a problem giving away the furniture at the end of it? Like someone bought it. I'm not giving it away. I'm selling it. And I said, I used to, because you're creating this from nothing.
Right.
And that stopped probably 2007, something like that. And then it was just give me the fucking money. No, and it's not that I don't like the people. I don't like the furniture. But one of the things I talk about with my guys out there is when people come to us, no matter if they're wealthy, not wealthy, it is likely going to be one of the nicest things they own. And the only but everything they own, when you're buying a $10,000, $15,000 table, generally your entire lifestyle is of that caliber. And 10 or 15 is where it starts, right? It goes up from there. So you buy a $45,000 table. It's not a wow factor because it's a $45,000 table. It's a unique factor. So the decision-making tree for all these people is not about the money. Money is the last thing they care about. They've got the money.
As a percentage of total income, it's the same as that IKEA for a similar family.
$20
like
bill.
you and I buying a latte,
Right? Bingo.
Yeah.
But personal significance is everything with regard to this. Will people keep it? Is very different than will it endure? Is it worth keeping? Two totally different things, right? Mm-hmm. It'll last 100 years. Only things that have significant personal value are kept 100 years. Because, quite frankly, if you like it and your kids don't like it, it means nothing to them. It doesn't matter what you paid for it. It's shit cannon. Who cares, right?
Right.
So what I talk to my guys about is it doesn't matter what it's being sold for. It doesn't matter who's coming in. It matters the fact that it is going to be very likely the only thing out of anything they own currently that is kept much longer than, 6, 7, 10 years, right? And yes, it matters if they cut the dovetails correctly. Yes, it matters if it fit perfectly. Yes, it matters if all of those things happen because that's what we sell. But none of our clients give two shits about that. They care about, did I have coffee there with my grandmother and she's been gone 20 years? It is the kind of thing that we are creating in which it's this sort of vessel of memories. And where there's a hack in the table might piss you off right now, but now that is the connection to your kid being 2 years old and beating up your table, and now she's getting married, right? And the fact that now we get to create something that is enduring of those things gracefully. It gets better as a result of those, not worse. That's the part that matters to me, that I am not creating the memories, but I'm creating the ability to keep them. And this is a set of skills, just like cooking, right? What we direct it at doesn't matter, but as long as you can direct it at that so that the people that use it want to keep it at all costs, right? That's where it really makes sense to me these days. My skill set now, whether it's cut digitally on a CNC machine or it's cut by somebody else's hands, it's my thought process. That's all great. And if I needed to go out there right now and not have the CNC machine or not have employees or not have certain tools, I could. That's fine. It would take me 600 hours to do something, but I'd rather do it in 6 and then make sure that other experience happens as opposed to pay me for 600 hours and make it $400,000, not $100,000.
How much of your process in an age of DIY, HGTV, et cetera, food TV, any one of these hobby channels, right?
Right.
How much of your process is you being the creative versus a client showing you a picture and saying, I want this table, or I want something like this table, and then within the design, do you shut the door to feedback? Because there are those that are like, look, I know what I'm doing, right? You just watched an Instagram reel, and no, that doesn't qualify as design. Where are you in that kind of integrated process of somebody saying, I want this, and then you saying, I'll take it from here?
Oh, it's different with every client, and I'm pretty accommodating. In the end, it's a business. It's not a pure creative endeavor, and let's say we do 700-800 pieces a year. There's going to be 10% of that where I can do whatever I want. The client's going to love it because they've generally already worked with me before. They trust me. I know them. I've had cocktails with them. I've eaten dinner with them. I've met their kids. So I can kind of interpret that. But I don't know. The joke is always I've been a whore for less. So if you pay me to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't care. As long as you're happy at the end of it, who am I to be the one to dictate how you live your life or the aesthetic in which you prefer? Now, do I want to paint things white at all times? No. But a lot of people want that one just a little bigger, and they don't want it brown. They want it white. So you've got $5,000? Sure, let's do it. And that's fine. Because again, it has nothing to do with my own personal ideals when it's custom furniture for you. If it's product, it's a little different because now all of a sudden it's my vision of the world translating into physical product. You want it, you buy it. Great. If you don't want it, fuck off. That's fine too.
Yep.
So, but in terms of custom, I want people to be happy with it. And I want them to have that vessel in which they can now, put out their ability to, convey life. So like when you cook, maybe you add a little bit more of something in it. Like when I cook, I put in too much rosemary because I love rosemary. But when people come into my house, there's a smell of that cooking rosemary that friends of mine over the years have always said, your house smells like roasting potatoes with rosemary. I'm like,
you're right.
I fucking like that.
God, that's so true.
Like, I totally want to die smelling like rosemary and roasted potatoes, right?
Anthony's over there like, I want some sriracha ketchup right now.
Anthony's house is Jim Beam and shame.
That's right. Also true. Yeah.
No, but, it's the kind of thing where I have no issue doing things that make people happy. And if you have a problem with that, that's the difference between, I think, an artist and a craftsman, or an artisan that creates functional objects. Because, if you're going to tell the entire world to F off and, this is my vision of it, take it, leave it, that's a little bit,
How many years have you been doing this?
I started when I was, professionally, I've been doing it since 2002. I started training with furniture at 16.
Okay.
I'm 43 now.
And can you tell JB the James Krenoff story? People like that.
So I was originally trained very formally in Northern California, in Fort Bragg, so about 3 hours north of San Francisco, Mendocino County, by a gentleman named James Krenoff. He was 83 at the time. I was 19. And he and I were kind of like oil and water, and just grounded each other for a year.
And he selected you as the apprentice.
So there was 18 a year that would come in and work with him and a few others. And I was the youngest by far. And they would always bring in one younger person that just kind of, mixed the pot a little bit. And usually people are pretty passive. I'm not. And at 19, totally full of piss and vinegar. And, I was coming out of sports culture, and now I'm going to Northern California in 2001. And I'm from Missouri, and I'm, only thing I was interested in doing in high school was sports and drinking beer and chasing girls and stuff like that. Now you're going to drop yourself into the most, hippy dippy liberal, whatever it is. And I'm not particularly conservative.
You're going to go live with Picasso.
Yeah. And
in the redwoods,
literally.
And now this little shit's going up there to tell the great man that he wants to do it his own way and not his way. And so we grounded each other. And so there were a couple of times where I literally was just about ready to murder this old 83-year-old guy. And he was as stubborn as ever. And final day of me being in California, was out there. I took a shower. I went and sat behind the shop. It's like 55 degrees, ocean breeze coming off. And I was just kind of steaming off from the shower, just kind of decompressing. And this old fucking guy comes out to feed his cat. I see Jim come out, and I said, Jim, I can't argue with you anymore. I'm done. I'm leaving in like 20 minutes. Give me my piece, because the great man, the name, I've had enough of it. I've been around it. I've experienced it. And he comes over and he says, no. He said, you sit down for a minute. And I said, oh, fuck, here we go. He's going to lay into me one last time. Like, this is the guy, this is like a Gordon Ramsay type where he smashes you his fucking plate on the wall.
This is Hell's Kitchen stuff.
Yeah. And, you walk in and, kind of give you some snide remark, but he was the great man. I was just a little shit. Well, so, okay. I was like, all right, listen to it one last time. So fucking have at it, and I'll get on my way. He comes down and pats me on the shoulder, and he says, look, he said, it's a hard year for me. He said, I'm retiring at the end of this year. He said, I'm being forced into retirement. And he said, my eyesight's going. I'm getting kind of ornery. And he said, you're a young man. He said, the only thing an old man wants is to be a young man again. I had to watch you be a young man in front of me all year, and you're capable, you're good at this, and you didn't want to be me. He said, everybody else comes here, they want to be me. And why you don't, I don't know. He said, but I respect that, but it made me angry because I had to watch it, because the only thing an old man wants is more time. Mm-hmm. And you have all the time. And I was like, fuck, man. I wanted to hate this guy my entire life. It's really sweet.
As you run to the tattoo shop, JC.
So, it's just this, like, kind of that experience. And, but this guy would get letters from around the world on a daily basis.
Yeah, literally.
And a total narcissist. And he would read them in front of tea, and then he'd just leave the letter just so people, and he'd go to the bathroom for a minute. And so people would read the letter, of course. And then there'd be all these suck-ass letters. And how do you think I got in? I sent him one of those suck-ass letters like a year earlier. So at the end of it all, he's just, I think about that a lot because he was this truly great man. I mean, to the point within our field, I should say. He'd written 8-10 books on not only the how-to of craft, but the why-to, the sort of mixture of Zen and working with trees and making sure that you're listening to them. And we practice some of that here, but in my own interpretation of it. But I've had these experiences, and then I went to the extreme other coast to Rhode Island School of Design for graduate school about 10 years later, and the two different schools of thought are much like Renaissance painting in the sense that now it wasn't a school per se, it was the school of thought that was being taught, and they were completely opposed to each other. So I was kind of an asshole at each school for wanting to do the thing that the other school did. And
what are those differences? What is the...
So as simple as California is Japanese-based woodworking.
Okay.
And East Coast is English-based woodworking, and one is about form, and the other one's about material. And English is about form. Japanese is about one with the forest kind of thing. And in the case of what we do here, I harvest about 200 logs a year from the surrounding region, about 50 miles. I've gone as far as northern Michigan to bring in timber, but it's a matter of getting closer to the source with the timber, because by buying it and processing it with a purpose in mind, as opposed to just getting it off an 18-wheeler, you're able to manipulate it further.
Which do you prefer out of the three?
What's that?
Either the English version, the California/Japanese version, or this Midwest, close to your home timber. Where are you at in, the boxes of style?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, St. Louis is truly like the Galapagos Islands. It's probably more like Australia, where you send the convicts. And things just evolve differently here because there's no external influence. And Instagram is actually probably one of the most transformative things ever with regard to the visual arts, because now all of a sudden people that operate in a place like St. Louis can become a pseudo-celebrity or have a big following because it doesn't matter where you are anymore. Those conversations that only happened with the jack-offs in freaking Brooklyn, or,
yeah, we know them.
You don't need to be physically there anymore, aside from the fact that now you don't, through traditional media, get the coverage. But,
What's funny is when all the celebrities come to St. Louis, they come here to see you because of Instagram or because you're, and then you have to call me and ask who that is.
Yeah, there's the vast majority of the people in the world don't care anything about this or what we're talking about, the personal significance, the longevity. They don't care, and that's fine. I don't care about what kind of car I drive. I don't care about any number of things. So, whatever people get interested in is fine. I happen to be very, very interested in, lineage with regard to product and, what does it mean to me? I want it to have touched certain hands. I want the things that I touch to now, touch my children, my grandchildren, my whomever, to the point in which I no longer matter, but the lineage matters. I don't ever want to be remembered as the furniture guy. I don't ever want to be. I don't want someone to ever turn over a piece of furniture and be like, "Ooh, did Goebel and Company make it?" No, fuck that. Do you like it? Period.
Okay, so where do you view? Well, there's two ways to ask this. Let me start with the viewpoint. Yeah. Like if you look at your business, the combination of, because what I'm hearing is basically simplistically three piles, right? Production, commissioned, and then creative, right? Where you just make what you want. From a percentage standpoint, perfect world.
Yeah.
Where would you like that to fall?
I'd prefer never to be paid for furniture ever again, never have another client. I'd prefer to just do it and give it away. I garden at home.
Yeah.
Anthony comes and steals tomatoes all the time.
It's as if this is absolutely true.
And
unbelievable tomatoes.
I don't.
And cheesecake.
Beef eaters.
Yeah. And fondue.
Oh, there you go.
And yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where I want to take the external influences off what I do so that it can evolve in a way that is organic as opposed to someone putting the thumb on the scale.
So you kind of walked into what I was hoping would be the trap, but this is the real world.
Sure.
You have a business.
Yeah.
You have a machine that has $500 bits that can blow up at any point, in which you got to replace, right?
Yeah.
There's wife, child. There's reality.
Sure.
Right. How do you have you seen yourself being pulled more into business away from creative? Because your answer a second ago is you are a true creative. You're an artist, right? It's in your soul. Sure. Therefore, the dream is to be the artist. But you've built a business that is there's an EBITDA, right?
Sure.
How are you okay with that? Do you like that? Do you like that part of it? And do you Jones to grow that capitalist side of the furniture company?
Oh, absolutely. I love the idea of it because, again, the intention is to, as much as I would like to zen out and make these wonderful things that are niche products that only will, revolutionize the world. That's all bullshit, I think that in case of going from IKEA to a really, really amazing, wonderful heirloom piece, I think that if we incrementally move the needle like 2% to a better experience, I think that's probably what we're shooting for. But really what we're looking for is the greater longevity. So a lot of where we make money is where we make that longevity profitable for people. So in the case of iconic things for hotels, restaurants, casinos, corporate interiors, front desks, conference tables, coffee bars. Coffee bars are an amazing motivator for corporate interiors. It's because it's where people recharge, and they can want to go there, and they can feel different. Like every workstation is done by Steelcase or Whitcomb or whatever these large companies out of Grand Rapids are churning out and steel, and it's like soul killing kind of crap. But you're just staring at a computer. It's also kind of soul killing, So if you now have a reprieve from that for even just a little bit, will that keep you at your desk a little bit longer incrementally? Yeah. And so there's like Google kind of blew up the corporate experience back with their Googleplex in like 2000, 2001, in which now all of a sudden people had workstations, but then they had a lot of flex spacing. They had gyms, they had luxury food, they had childcare, they had aromatherapy, they had whatever, right? And it was all a matter of making people more comfortable at their office. And that's where you can't buy that product anywhere else. And where we really fit into the market and where we make money is not being mass manufacturing in Poland or Vietnam or China or the shit that's happening in North Carolina right now, which is an absolute abomination of, quite frankly, large manufacturing and American manufacturing. But it's a matter of we're also not the guys that during hunting season are gone for 3 weeks or that, are working in their back shop and, again, are underskilled. It's like, well, I learned it from my grandpa. It's like, well, you know what? Grandpa was an engineer at Boeing who decided that he made enough money at 50 and didn't like people, so he went back into his office or into his back garage and became a woodworker. So you learned it from a guy who learned it third hand with 40% of the information. Now you have 20% of the information, but now you got YouTube, so you're a fucking professional. Well, that should scare every corporate person known to man because they don't have a comprehensive skill set or the ability to break down what any of those individuals need. So what we do here is quite a bit of product development. That it's not just about creation of product. It's a matter of creating a product that is going to make people feel a certain way.
When did you know from the early days. You go out to California. Yeah. You then go to grad school, more design. When did you know, kind of post all the paper, the process, and the institutions? When did you know that, what, I'm going to put my name on the stamp, I'm going to create a logo, and I'm going to go. This is going to be my thing, and I'm going to find the balance between, those three categories I kind of referenced earlier.
Right.
Was it out of the gate? Did you have consternation? Or was it just kind of like, yeah, fuck it. If it doesn't work, I'll go to a cabinet shop, right?
So I'd never go to a cabinet shop. That would not work well. And, so I'm trying to think how to describe this. I knew that this is the genre I wanted to be in immediately.
Slide that a little closer if you don't mind.
Yeah. I knew this is the genre I'd wanted to be in immediately, but it was a matter of how to sell enough. So the best work I do to this day is not in the back shop. It's on a tennis court at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it's at a bar at 11 o'clock on a Monday. And that's when people that buy this kind of furniture have time. And if you have no sales, you have no company, you have no ability for creative outlet, you have nothing. Everything about this company right now, the only reason we succeed at all is because when I do the sales, it's not a salesperson, it is me. And that's because not only, I have the ability to communicate things, it's a matter of being able to sell things without hanging my production out to dry. If I oversell and underprice, it's worse than not selling at all. So over the years, it's connecting with clients, it's connecting with people, but it's also communicating what we can do and how we can be actually a business, not just, the greatest woodwork. There are much better woodworkers out there than I am, but it's a matter of putting it all together and making sure that now when I employ some of those much better woodworkers, they're doing it like professional athletes. I don't want them to think about any of those things. I want them to walk out there and bounce that ball, hit that puck, cut that wood better than anyone's ever done it, because they don't have to think about that other happy horse shit.
Right.
And unless there's someone in this office protecting them, which I truly believe, because small business gets so taken advantage of by clients, definitely, by other large business, definitely. And, one of my best attributes is I don't mind being yelled at. I don't mind being told I'm not correct. When I know I'm correct, I don't mind telling people that they can go fuck themselves. And if you don't do that, it's just a one-way trip to getting taken advantage of and then being out of business. I like that these guys can go and, put gas in their car, that cash comes out when their wife's ATM card goes in. All of these things are the important part of this. And so in terms of, are we good furniture makers? Yes. Do we design effectively? Yes. Can we produce things efficiently? Yes. All that crap doesn't matter, though. All of that has to happen like clockwork, as if it's just going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so we happen to be in that top 1%, if not higher, of furniture in the world. And I say that because we sell to the world out of St. Louis, Missouri. They come to us, the billionaires of the world, that, we put it on a container. It goes to somewhere in Asia.
Philippe Stark, the Queen of Zambia, was it? Wanted a throne. Nike, right here to Washoe. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe I'm a pompous ass, or maybe it's just validated by the client list that Anthony rattled off. But it's just a matter of saying, yeah, I'm good at this. I can do this. But it's also about making sure that the people that work here and believe in the product and didn't sign on for any of the risk are protected. And I think that part of the problem with small business in general is the entire system is set up to take advantage of us, because the vast majority of small business will only fail after a short period of time. Let's say under 10 years. And after under 10 years, what that means is not that someone decided to walk away from it. They took some money with them. No. They've declared bankruptcy. Somebody else has taken advantage of them horribly.
So what's scale for you? What's scale? Are you at scale now?
No.
Could you be bigger? Do you want to be bigger? Because inevitably there's either loss of soul or diminishing returns, or you're okay with, let's put a multiplier on this thing.
Yeah. So there was a line from one of the movies a long time ago where someone said, what is the British intention? It was about a colonial Britain. And the one British officer looks at the guy and said, make the world England. And that's my fucking idea. I don't know if we're going to get there, but I know for a fact that we make a lot better furniture than any of the mass-produced furniture in the world right now. And we have less resources. I don't have engineers. I don't have salespeople. I don't have any of that. But what this is a pilot program that says, look, you don't need all that crap. All of those remnants of pre-war manufacturing, North Carolina, where I said, like, hey, let's get rid of all of what I've done in the past and let's start from right now. American manufacturing, if they were going to modernize, should have done that. The idea that you need 800 people in a facility, no, you need appropriate technology, you need smart people, you need assemblers. But what you do not need is the methodology from the past that you're trying to shoehorn into, today's technology. So in the case of the machinery we have here, a lot of companies have that in the U.S., but it's a matter of how it's applied. So if now all of a sudden you own a wood manufacturing facility in the U.S., you're probably in your 70s. You probably came up through it in some way. It's not, you didn't start it. It's third, fourth generation. And so you really cut your teeth and learned on it in the 70s and 80s. Well, then in the 90s, all of the CNC equipment and the technology started getting a little bit cheaper. In 2000, you brought it in. Then the recession happened, and now it's 2015, and you're still using 1980 technology or 1980 theory on 1990 technology, and now it's 2015, and you're still clinging to your facility that was gifted to you in the 80s or early 90s. So what I'm trying to do with our company here is say, leave all that behind. This is one machine, this is 3 guys, and we can do 800 pieces of furniture a year. What's the problem here? What happens if we have 10 of those machines? What happens if now all of a sudden we can get the price points down to where I can sell on Wayfair, which right now we do? What happens if, regardless of your politics, the cost of goods coming in from outside the country dramatically increase with tariffs? Now all of a sudden, Martin's Furniture, which is the exact same price as what's sold at Pottery Barn and Restoration Hardware with regard to my secondary brand Kindred, now all of a sudden it stays the same at $3,800 for an 8-person dining table. But anything coming in from Vietnam, China, Poland, all of that, now has a 50 or 100% tariff on it, so that their metrics don't work. So now all of a sudden you need to start sourcing from other places like Missouri. And I can say, hey, we've already done this. It's not a question of can we do it. It's a matter of how quick can we scale up? How long can we, sign contracts for? So now I don't make $800 a year. I make $8,000 a year. And if you need to check your supply chain, if you're worried about quality, you jump on a flight from New York and you come to St. Louis, you can be home for dinner. You don't have to go to Asia for 2 weeks. You don't have to have a lost in translation. You don't have to pray whatever you're talking about in a meeting gets in a container and 6 months later shows up the same. You don't have to worry about now suing them because it's all under the same judicial system. If someone sends the wrong thing to you from 6 months ago in Vietnam, it shows up. What are you going to do? Go and sue them in Vietnam, even if you are Pottery Barn? Maybe, but it just doesn't work that way. So there's a path forward here. The structure of my company right now, in terms of where it can go, is to the moon if it needs to. But the biggest thing with small business, in my mind, is how do you fund it? So if I'm in China right now and I said, I'm going to bring in a $300,000 piece of equipment, it's going to cost me $10,000 a month to run it, but it can do this amount of output. As long as I run that machine for X number of years and keep people employed, the government not only funds it, but will give it to me in a grant.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they see is the value in now keeping manufacturing in that country, growing it, and all of that. So don't get me wrong. I really, really love these Trump tariffs because we're vertically integrated. Aside from 4 or 5 screws per table, everything is done within 50 miles of St. Louis. Most of it's here in our facility. But if someone said to me tomorrow, Martin, go from 800 pieces to 1,600 pieces, I can't bring on a 7% or 7.5% loan to now scale up and risk that. So, get the technology, get the training, get the square footage. I mean, we're in a 100-year-old building right now with a shit roof.
Right.
If I need to just scale up and say, let's go to a 100,000 square foot facility as opposed to a 15,000 square foot facility. So now all I have is double the manufacturing space. I have offices and I have warehouse for finished product. You can do that. But really what the American government and the city of St. Louis expects is now Martin Goebel, who's got student loans, a young daughter and a new wife and a new house and all of that. I'm the guy that now has to put my personal credit up for that. I have to finance it. In the grand scheme of what we do here, I have the finest education of anybody in the world. There's others that are like me. I teach it at Wash U with regard to digital design, product development, design thinking, all of that. I happen to be in St. Louis. I wasn't brought in for that, but if there's ever someone to invest in, it's someone that got educated, stayed within the field of their education, and now is incrementally moving that industry forward. We should be doing that with engineering and aerospace. We should be doing that with chemistry and drugs. We should be doing all that. But there's no funding for that anywhere in the country.
Well, but I also think to be contrarian for just 2 seconds here, what you have is a commodity that is dwindling to the point of non-existent, and that is drive, passion. It's easy, not easy. I don't want to say that what you're doing is easy, but because you have that flame in you. When you answered the question earlier, I would be an artist. I would make furniture and give it away. That's a unique human trait that we don't see as a society more broadly. So I think it's like I'm listening to you go through geopolitics and you're putting the lens over the top of your factory and your people and what you could do, want to do, right? And I'm like, man, stay away from be that artist, right? Because that passion is like, that's the inspiring part. For you to beat the system or be part of the system, or be subsidized by the system, or be, rewarded and not just go get your 7.5 point loan, right? That everybody else does. Like, I think that's what makes your furniture, frankly, is the piss and vinegar and the product. Does that make sense?
It does to some point, and I understand what you're getting at, but in the grand scheme of the contrarian, if not me, who? If not me or people like me, we don't need a lot of us, but if people aren't going to put their efforts, their ideals, and their piss and vinegar on the line to do it, what the fuck are we doing here?
Well, I think we've squeezed it out of most.
But we don't need everybody.
No,
we
I
only need
agree.
a couple of them.
Yeah.
And the idea of needing a couple of people to now at least be the catalyst for change, if we aren't being those people as professionals in an industry, we have absolutely no business pissing on the industry that we're a part of.
So let's have a little fun here. Let's do a thought experiment. This is right in line with kind of the moral of the story of our show. Anthony and I have had countless conversations and text strings about vision, the civic involvement, the corporate involvement, the cultural involvement, our community involvement, and what do we need? What can help? Right? Let's take you and your company. Forget about whatever's happening on Pennsylvania Avenue or in global trade. What can St. Louis do to help you to scale, to take this piss and vinegar, as I'll call it, and I love piss and vinegar, by the way. What could some
people are into that.
I'm one of those weirdos.
No judgment.
What could it do? What could it do to help take the flame that is within you and the output that is now globally relevant?
Yeah.
How can it be part of this process to make this not a Galapagos?
Well, I think that St. Louis has one of the biggest problems of any major city anywhere that I've been and anyone that I've ever experienced. And that's, I think, the people in power in St. Louis are also the people often that have legacy in St. Louis. And they're afraid of progress because it's going to minimize them. And that's my somewhat conspiracy theory of it, but I don't think it's that far-fetched because I've never seen a group of civic leaders and business owners fuck it up so bad, where there's opportunity, there's cheap space, there's all of this. And I'm all for social programs and making sure that people who need assistance get assistance, but that comes out of a different kitty than manufacturing subsidies. And don't give me a subsidy that says, well, Mr. Goebel, if you now make X number of dollars a year, you'll retain this amount in your taxes. No, fuck you. Give me a grant that says, I've got a $300,000 piece of equipment. The misunderstanding with automation and AI is that now you're going to reduce jobs. No, you're going to create them because there is a certain percentage of those jobs or those tasks that cannot be done by a computer, or if they can, they become inefficient. So for instance, we run our CNC right now, computer numeric controlled automated milling machine, at a 92% resolution on parts. So when a part comes off that machine, it is 92% of the finished part, right? In order to prep the material, we've got to put X amount of labor by hand into the material to put it on the machine. And when it comes off, I've got to get that other 8% done, right? But if I could make 10 units by hand in a day, that machine will make 200. And I still got to get that last 8% done on 200, as opposed to make it all by hand and make 10 of them. And so the scaling of it is so dramatically different that we can create jobs for underskilled workers. We can, and that's with one machine. What happens if now I say, State of Missouri, I need 3 machines, and I need you guys to push me as the poster boy of product created in Missouri?
Well, and here's the thing. You already did the legwork. You're the one with 170,000 Instagram followers. You're the one with a global zip code of clients, right?
Yes.
So, okay, we'll make a phone call.
Well, but the biggest thing here, what I get back to, is St. Louis has this love of mediocrity. They love nothing more than saying, well, little Jimmy.
Well, I think I'll agree with you. Use the term legacy. On my way up here, because my studio's over in Dotsac, right over on Locust, right? Shot straight up Grand.
Yeah.
Grand and roughly St. Louis Avenue, maybe a little bit further north. For anybody listening to the show that knows the neighborhood, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You might not have been there in the last 25 years, but you know where I was. One of the big buildings, vacant, Lindbergh Building, right? Another one, it's this idea, in my head, I'm like, they let all of this go. That is the legacy. The legacy has been like squeezed down that 40 corridor. And there's individuals like you up here, in areas like this that there's new legacy that needs to be made.
I would agree from the standpoint of should be made. Needs to be made? I don't know. You could make it anywhere else. And I think that St. Louis has this unbelievable self-loathing where how many fucking people have they're 23 and they've got a 314 tattooed on their forearm or some bullshit like that, and they live in Baldwin.
And it's really a 636.
No, but it's the idea that, if you go anywhere else in the world and you hear of someone from St. Louis, they're going to tell you all about the fucking Cardinals. Fuck the Cardinals. Get rid of the Cardinals, bulldoze the arch. It's like a girlfriend that, doesn't love you but wants you to take her out to dinner constantly. And once we start getting the people who claim to love St. Louis to actually engage in St. Louis, now we'll really have something. But it's a sort of lip service thing about how everybody loves St. Louis, but really all they do is go down for the fireworks, the Cardinals, and maybe with a new girlfriend they'll go to Soulard Market for coffee on Saturday. But that'll be once and they'll never go back. So, I have a problem with, St. Louis is what I would call a brain drain city. It's like Providence, Rhode Island. Providence has Boston 30 minutes north. It has New York an hour and 30 minutes south. They've got 5 or 6 universities. Brilliant people go there. Really brilliant people. And quite frankly, the people of Rhode Island are pretty bright as well. But at the end of it all, anybody who's real bright, takes the money, takes the big city lights, and they get the fuck out of there. And St. Louis is the same. Washington University, Lindenwood, St. Louis University, any number of others within the region. And people come here, but they take the education. They go to a place that is, more to their liking.
Yeah, the export of St. Louis is our kids.
And so if that's the case, and now we all love St. Louis and, we want to show that, now we buy, again, the crappy artwork. We buy the crappy pizza. We buy the crappy beer. We buy all of these things because it's what we have.
So you're saying you're not running for mayor. Is that what you're saying?
I would kind of be like Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, who only wants to be mayor for one term.
Right.
And
turn it up.
You turn it up, but it's the kind of thing where the problem with St. Louis isn't crime. The problem with St. Louis isn't that downtown is empty. It's the attitude. It's the attitude that, I have everything within a 5-mile radius or 3-mile radius of, Maplewood or, Baldwin or South City.
Because it is easy.
Well, but it's easy, but it's a kind of thing in which if you...
Creates monsters, you're saying.
It creates nothing is what it creates.